This is the Nottinghamshire village of Sutton-on-Trent. It's just outside of Newark, and as its name would suggest, lies on the western side of the River Trent itself. I'm here today to search for the larval webs of one of the county's rarest moths. Now, a narrow country lane like this running through agricultural farmland may not be your first idea of going to look for something rare, but this kind of habitat with these roadside hedgerows containing blackthorn, hawthorn and a range of other shrubs is the habitat to come and look for it here in Nottinghamshire. The moth itself is the small eggar, a very rare county moth, totally restricted to this part of Nottinghamshire, only another couple of sites either side of the Trent. It was first found after a long time in the early 2000s, after a gap of many decades. It was seen successively in this area for several years, but then it went missing again. But it did turn up in May 2020, if I remember right. 2021, May the 26th, it was extremely wet here. I know, because I was walking in it. It was chucking it down with rain. But I came to look for the larval webs of small eggar and did find one about half a mile further down this track. Let's hope I'm as successful today in much better weather. One of the biggest problems and the potential reason for the small eggar's decline, both in Nottinghamshire and nationally, is the cutting of roadside hedgerows. The cutting by both farmers and county councils is indiscriminate. It's also usually quite severe, and rather than actually be cut, it's more ripped than cut. That leads to the loss of eggs and of larvae. Small eggar is an early flying species. Adults are out usually by about the middle of February. It's a very early species to be on the wing. It doesn't appear to come to light, so it's recorded mostly in its larval form. That larval form is easy to find where the moth is present because it makes expansive larval webs. They're very easy to find. There's one here. And this is it. I'll show you in situ. It's actually on the side of this blackthorn. Blackthorn is the preferred food plant. The larval web that I found last year is further up. I will continue a walk up and see whether there's any more. But this one is on this sheltered easterly side of this blackthorn hedge. Very easy to see. Now, I've seen one larva wandering around on the outside. It's a very thick web of silk. If I move these out of the way, you'll be able to see it a bit better. Very thick, very white, is waterproof inside, but inside this larval web there will probably upwards of over 100 larvae. In fact, up here you can see an earlier larval web when they were very young. That's probably near to where the eggs were actually laid. This measures probably 3 to 4 inches across and about the same in depth. There are many more larvae in there than what you would dream of. I'm surprised, pleasantly surprised, that this has been so easy to find. And it's good that it is. This is quite near to Sutton-on-Trent village itself. I've only had to walk a couple of 100 yards really. I thought I'd be in for a slog, even if I found this web at all. Well, you can see the sort of height that this web is situated at. This is about 5'6" off the ground, I'll go and say and have a look, see whether there's any more larval webs. To find another one would be truly something. But I must admit, I was unsure whether I'd even find one. But from the larvae that I've seen crawling on the web, they seem about the same size as they were at this stage last year. But this has been a better spring. I expected them to be slightly larger. They're usually pretty uniform in development, which you would really expect from coming from the same egg batch. Great to have found one. And here's another larval web, and this has got the larvae obviously on the outside. They're all sat outside it. These are probably about a third grown now. The larvae are truly beautiful when full grown. I'll insert photos in various parts of this video. This is the first time I've seen them on the outside of the web like this, at least in the wild anyway. I'm just wondering why these are on the outside and that first batch are all tucked away. But anyway, as you can see, even though the larval web is small, this is about the same dimensions as the other one. You can see where they have worked their way up the stem here. There's almost like a central nest to the area until they become too large, but then all the vegetation around it is being eaten by the larvae, but they return back to this same nest each time after feeding. I'm chuffed to find these. That's two. I've hardly got anywhere. You see now how they're dispersing. There's remnants of an earlier web just here, and then they've come up here and along here, but this is now the main web. Terrific things. One very tiny one there, and that will almost certainly fail. More than likely been parasitised. There's another small one on the top there. Runty ones of the litter, so to speak, invariably fail to reach adulthood, but the rest all look extremely healthy. As you can see, they're moving away from the web. The web's at the top of the screen here, and they're extending out. All those that are going along this bit aren't going to get much of a meal because this has been stripped. The ones at the bottom of the screen are going to do much better. Not surprisingly, as they move around the web constantly. So if I was to come back here in another fortnight, this web will be far more extensive and it'll be all over these other shoots. But these are beautiful caterpillars. I'll put a photo in here that shows the prolegs underneath, because they're bright orange. They're a lovely thing. They may not look so colourful at the moment. Give them another couple of skin changes and they'll be proper little stunners. And here's a third. I've had to walk up a bit further. If I move these out of the way, the hedgerows here are more sparse. On the good side though, they're also lower. This one is on the eastern side of the minor road, and this web is on top. As you can see, there's a couple of larvae just at the top here, one very small one and one large one, similar to what we've just been looking at. They've stripped all of this when they've been out. It's possible that many of them are in the middle of a skin change at the moment. Can see some movement inside, and the heads do look small on the ones that I can see. It looks as though the heads or the head cases are moving forward, which would indicate that they're about to change the skin. going to continue further down to a notable bend in this road. The village is Grasthorpe. Which is only just over there, but I'm not going that far. There certainly must be some good numbers here. The trouble is, most of the hedgerows separating and dividing the fields have long gone. Now it's just sort of fence posts and barbed wire fencing. These hedgerows here, either side of Ingram Lane, running between Sutton-on-Trent and Grasthorpe, seem to be vitally important to the moths' survival here. Let's hope it never gets removed. There has been one section on your left hand side that's been removed but not replanted. Someone has replanted a bit of hedgerow just between the two fields here on the left, so we could do with some more hedgerow planting, and it needs to contain blackthorn and hawthorn. Excellent. And amazingly, here's a fourth larval web. These are all out for lunch, so to speak. There's a whole load of them here, look, and just there, and then further down here. These are the same stage as that second web that we found. There's a veritable chaos ensues when they decide that they're hungry. They all seem to get hungry at the same time, and then once they're fed and are quite happy with full stomachs, they'll return back to this larval web. It's quite amazing how they can get inside those things. Usually right deep in the centre of these, it is sort of hollow, almost probably not quite as big as a golf ball, and they all sort of get in there, and it becomes heavily frass filled, as you would expect, with well over 100 caterpillars which are here. I'm amazed to find 4 larval webs of small eggar here today. Very pleased. Obviously it's been here all the time, even in those years where it went missing. It must, like so many species, the moth must be able to remain at a site or in an area at low densities. These are very conspicuous though. To be honest, you could scan most of the fields with binoculars and pick these up. I was surprised to find this larval web though, because this bit of hedge wasn't cut last year. This is where I found the larval web last year, and it had been cut last year. This is 2 years growth. There's all last year's growth, and the new growth from this year is just appearing. And it's quite a long stretch of hedgerow this, and I was beginning to wonder whether the moth actually prefers more upkept hedgerows rather than hedgerows like this. I suspect they do. I suspect that the density of a cut hedge is perhaps beneficial. Obviously, with living at such high densities as this, there'll be a high degree of parasitisation, and that's usually evident and accrued, as I mentioned before, by those individuals that are particularly small and far smaller than the rest. As you can see, or might be able to see, these are all pretty uniform in size. Hopefully this moth will continue to do well. It seems to be doing well. It seemed to have a good year in 2020. This looks as though it's going to be another one for the small eggar, and that's good to see. We're quite lucky to have the species in Nottinghamshire. There's not one caterpillar of that larval web that's out. They're all tucked away inside, and yet when I filmed them earlier, it was a mass of hungry caterpillars. Not one to be seen now. Anyway, it's been nice to have a wander down Ingram Lane here at Sutton-on-Trent, and it's been well worthwhile finding 4 larval webs of the small eggar, an incredibly rare and restricted moth in Nottinghamshire, but also becoming nationally scarce as well. It's declining everywhere. Saying that, the population here is obviously doing fairly well. I only found 1 larval web last year, 4 this year, and I think there might have been 2 in 2020. So all might not be that bad for this very rare county moth. But it shows the value of small country lanes like this, with the roadside verges bedecked with wild flowers, typical spring wild flowers, and not massacring the hedge each year. Hedges are best left and cut every 2nd year. Still, let's hope this moth continues to do well.